Hey everyone, so last week I shared a video on habits of a mother and I felt like there was a lot more I could say, but I didn't want to make the video any longer than it was. So this is going to be technically a part 2. So if you haven't seen the other one, I would recommend going to watch it, but I'm going to share some new ideas and things that I do as a mother, some habits that I have that go along with my minimalist lifestyle. So I'm just going to dive right into it and tell you that in my house, we are big on memories over things. Memories will way outlast any physical item, any gift, any toy, anything like that. So years ago, when my daughter was first born, she is 6 years old, she'll be 7 in January. I was thinking, if I didn't get to see her grow up, what would I want to leave behind? Most people would say an inheritance. Some people would say, I don't know, some people pass on like fine china or whatever. I wanted to leave her my words. I wanted her to know and remember how much I love her. And I wanted her to be able to just see how I felt, things that we did, times that we shared. And I decided that I was going to start journaling for her. And I created an email address for my daughter, and I would write her letters, messages. I would send pictures on holidays, birthdays of her or me and her or her and her siblings. And I would, write like a paragraph. And on her birthdays, I would say, this is your 3rd birthday and this is what we did. And this is what you enjoyed. And this is what you're into right now. And I basically made this virtual diary, virtual scrapbook. And it just brought me a lot of joy knowing that she would be able to remember. And so I did the same thing for my 2nd and 3rd child. And about a year ago, I was trying to get into those email addresses and I couldn't remember the passwords. It was a whole thing. It took me like 3 hours to gain access to it. But in those 3 hours, I thought I had lost the accounts for good. And I was crying. I was like, I can't believe this, like all these memories, blah, blah, blah. So then I'm like, what can I do to avoid this happening? Because I like things on pen and paper too, but things can get lost, destroyed, stolen. So here's what I decided to do. So this is a minimalism tip for passing down things to your kids that won't take up a lot of space. Not only do I have those email addresses for them, thank the Lord, I ended up, first of all, forwarding all their emails to my email as well, just in case. Did the 2-step factor. I wrote their email addresses and their passwords in these journals. So this is the journal that I am currently writing in. So each kid has their own, and I write them notes in here. I tell them things that are going on. If there's a really funny memory, I will write it down so that we can remember it. And then I take a picture of it and I email it to that email address so that not only do we have this physical copy, we have their email addresses, and then we have my email address as a backup with all of those things. And I think it's just a fun way to pass on some words, because to me, the most important thing are how you make people feel, how you love them, the things that you've said, the things that you've done, the memories you shared. They're not things. So if you don't already, I would say create an email for your kids. You don't have to tell anyone what it is. Really, not many people should, unless you want to do that and allow family members to send notes to your kids. But for me, it's just very personal. So only myself and my husband have access to it, but I'm the only one who sends it. I just needed my husband to know all about it, just in case something happens to me, he can access it. And if I'm still around, when they're older, I will give it to them on their 18th birthday. God willing, I will be. But it's just, you never know when it's your time. And the one thing I always worry about is my kids and what will happen once I'm no longer here. I can't control that, but what I can control is the fact that I just want them to know that I never stopped loving or thinking about them every second of every single day. So this is really special to me. If you're gonna make an email address, let me know. I'm just curious if you guys think it's a good idea, if you like it. Definitely do the 2-factor verification so you never lose access to the account. Forward it. You can make yourself an email address if you want, and then forward all the emails to that one. And then you can also do a backup. And if you have a safe, like a fireproof safe or something, you can put these journals in there. They don't have to be huge journals. I mean, you're not gonna write a note every 5 minutes or every day unless you want to. So one journal should be good enough. But anyway, I love that. So if you like that idea and you plan to do it, let me know. I'm just curious. Okay, another thing that I do is I keep things in the home very manageable. I don't have more than I can handle. I get overwhelmed very easily. I get overstimulated very easily. And so I keep things how they are for a reason. I know a lot of people will comment on our echo in our house. A lot of that has to do with the fact that we removed walls and we don't have a ton of stuff, but we don't live in some huge house. We have just enough house. It's not even 2,000 square feet. So, I mean, we're very grateful. That's bigger than we've ever lived in, but we came from a small apartment. And the reason we don't fill every single area of the house is because we don't want to. We choose minimalism, not so we can live in a tiny home, not so we can live in a huge empty home, but so we can live in a home that feels good. It feels good to walk in here and not have clutter. It feels good to walk in here and know that there's space. The kids can run around, they can play, and they can be kids. Sometimes you need to give the kids space to be kids. I posted a video on Instagram. They could have all the toys in the world, but they want to play with boxes and they want to run around. They want to chase each other. We have space for that. That's important to me. I don't want the house to be an adult house where I have to be worrying about them hitting something or knocking over a glass. Or we keep things very manageable. We keep things light. There's really nothing in this house that they could truly break. You can have nice things with kids, but you're gonna have to manage those nice things. I don't wanna manage any more than I have to. I wanna manage and maintain a clean home, a safe home, and a home where myself, my husband, and our kids can thrive in it. So I would say I set the atmosphere so that my kids can thrive. My husband was making a video on like how to support your spouse when they're decluttering. You should check that out because I first got into minimalism before my husband. And I knew it was gonna help our family so much. I knew it was gonna be a lifelong thing. And I mean, it's been, I don't know, 6 years, I can't even remember, but it's been a while. And I can't even imagine going back to how we used to live. Anyway, point number 3, I am in control of the laundry. I do all of the laundry in this house. I talked about it in the last video on habits of a mother. I do all of the laundry and I make sure the laundry is manageable too. How I keep my kids' wardrobe manageable is that, first of all, my 2 older kids go to school Monday through Friday and they have a uniform. I could go out and buy a bunch of different collared shirts, a bunch of different bottoms, whatever else. But instead, I decided to give them 5 identical uniforms. It takes the guessing work away. It matches everything. My daughter, she has navy blue dresses, and then my son has navy blue collared shirts with khaki pants. He's singing. My son is singing. So that every day, when it's time to get ready for school, they can just get dressed. I keep everything organized. I do the laundry on the weekend. They have 5 uniforms. That means I don't have to do laundry in the middle of the week. My kids, I don't know about yours, but when they come home from school, they're dirty. They cannot rewear those uniforms. So as soon as they get home, they take off their uniforms, they throw them in the basket. I like to give them a shower and put them like in comfortable clothes. I germaphobe a little bit, but I keep their uniforms very simple because it helps me as a mom stay on top of laundry. And I don't need to do laundry in the middle of the week. I can do it Friday. If I can't get it to it Friday, I do it over the weekend. And then they have clean uniforms again on Monday. So I keep laundry very, very manageable. They have enough pajamas to last them 1 week. They have enough uniforms to last them 1 week. They have enough underwear. They have enough socks. And then they have about 7 outfits each of like regular church, going out, those types of clothes. They have more than enough. Anything over 7, in my opinion, is not needed. My daughter doesn't need more than 7 going out outfits. My kids don't need more than 5 uniforms. They don't need more than a week's worth of underwear because there's no chance that I'm not gonna get to laundry in a whole week. So they don't need all of the extra. And I don't need to be washing a bunch of clothes while there's still clothes hanging up in the closet or in the drawers. If you're doing laundry, let's say you do laundry once a week, and by the time you're done doing the laundry and putting it away, there's still a bunch of clothes, the whole closet filled, you probably have too much. Also, I know people will argue seasons. I still feel like you can be a minimalist and have a minimal wardrobe even with seasons. I don't think it's an excuse. Again, I'm from Florida, but I've seen other people do it, capsule wardrobes, or actually not even capsule wardrobes, because that would mean you're kind of switching it out. But I've seen people with their entire 4 seasons wardrobe in their closet. It's doable if you want to, but so with my kids, I keep it very, very manageable. Anyway, I don't love spending a bunch of time doing laundry, so this is what I prefer to do. Third thing I do with my kids is I make them play outside. I will send my kids, luckily we have a backyard. This is the first time we've ever had a backyard with kids. It took 5 years, but we do have a backyard and we're able to send the kids outside. We can see them from every angle and they play. They have a little playground out there. They'll play with chalk, whatever it is. But I like to send them outside. First of all, the house can be quiet for a few minutes. I usually do that when I'm preparing dinner. I send them outside. Not only will the house be quiet, but also it helps them burn off some energy. So it helps both of us. So I like to keep them physically healthy. I like to keep them active, and I like to be able to focus on cooking without them interrupting or getting in the way, which with 3 kids is gonna happen. So I think that that is a really good practice to do. And if I skip it, I tell the difference at bedtime, because sometimes it could take them 5 minutes to go to bed. Sometimes it could take them 30. But when you send them outside and they get tired, it definitely goes smoother. Let's talk toys. In this house, we are very minimal on toys. Why? Because I truly feel like toys are a waste of money for my kids. But let me explain why. My son had a birthday in July. He got a lot of gifts from family, we got him some stuff, whatever else. They're still at the age where they're breaking things. They had the most beautiful Hot Wheels set. They broke the track. So they probably get a good week's worth of play before they destroy it, or they lose pieces, or they lose interest. Unless it's a holiday, maybe Christmas, we don't really bring toys into our house. We prefer for them to play outside on their scooters. We all have bikes. They have a playground outside. I have bubbles, things like that I prefer. If we were gonna buy toys, they would need to be something that can be used in many different ways, like imaginative, like open play. We like the Magnetiles. However, be aware that if you have a little kid, they can break open the magnets and swallow them, because trust me, my son tried. I thought I was gonna have to take him to the hospital, but then I ended up finding the other magnet. Blocks, crayons and paper, things like that. We don't have a bunch of toys that make a bunch of sounds. If you are overstimulated as a mom and you have 1, 2, 3, 4 kids and you're bringing in all of these things that make noise, if you bring in all of these overstimulating toys, they're not only overstimulating you, they're also overstimulating your kids. Too much sound, too much going on, too much noise. It's a good way to drive yourself and your kids a little bit crazy. Which brings me to the next thing. I decided that YouTube was no longer allowed in my house for my kids. I use YouTube personally I like to watch a couple of like Christian vloggers that are like my favorite. And then I also like to listen to worship music on YouTube, but I'm not watching like random YouTube stuff. I also usually do that when my kids are at school. I do not allow my kids to watch any show. If there's violence in it, if there's shows that are a little too, if a character in the show is being rude, my kids can't watch it. I don't allow them to watch other kids on YouTube do things. Like the children influencers. My daughter used to love one in particular. She used to love it, but then she started to have her reality warped. She thought that little girl was doing all of those fun things every single day. And she started to say, why can't we do fun stuff like her? Because she would watch videos of this girl every day. And then she would think, and I'm like, Mila, this little girl, I try to tell her the truth. I'm like, she's doing those fun things so that they can record it. This is her job. She's working. And I try to explain to my daughter, like, I don't want that for you. We're not going to do that. I don't really show my kids on here. My kids are not influencers. My kids are not for the world to see. But also, just like us adults, how we see people on Instagram or any other social media and we start to compare ourselves, we start to compare our lives and all of these things. Kids will start to do that too, especially with these influencers, little kids who look like they have it all. They look like they're having so much fun. And that's another topic for another day. Seeing those types of videos actually makes me sad because I'm like, these kids' childhood is literally just all on film. I truly, and I'm not bashing anyone, but I truly feel like it's so wrong. Like, let your kids be kids. Don't do fun things just to record it. That's just personally how I feel. Sure, document things, but I stopped allowing that stuff in my house. I'm not going to allow my kids to get into that mindset of comparison already, or believing the lies that everyone's life is so perfect and wonderful and they're having fun every single second. So I eliminated that. And another habit that I have instilled in my kids is the habit of cleaning up after themselves. So when they're done having a meal, I have them empty their plates in the garbage, and then I have them put that plate into the sink. Now, I have to really look away when my 2-year-old puts his plate in the sink because he will throw it in there because he can't reach. But he likes to do it himself, so I'm not going to take that away from him. I like for him to be independent, but I give them age-appropriate tasks. If they make a mess, I want them to clean it. If they spill something, at this point, if they spill something, they know to go get a towel to clean it up. They know that when they get home from school, they're gonna take off their clothes, they're gonna put it in the laundry hamper. Right when they come through the door, shoes go off. That is one habit. No shoes allowed in my house. That is a non-negotiable. We used to kind of do it, then not. No, like it's been probably over 6 months now where we do not allow shoes in our house. We even have these like slip-ons, and I know that's not very minimal, but when it comes to having little kids who like to roll around on the floor, I'm okay with having a stash of shoe covers. So for example, my grandmother and my mom, they both have plantar fasciitis. So walking barefoot actually really causes them pain. So they are probably the two that I specifically have these for, but they're kind of like booties, and they go, you can put your foot right into it with your shoe and it wraps around your whole shoe. And I allow them to go around my house like that. It might be annoying to some people, or I've been called rude on Instagram. Like, how dare you you can set the rules in your house. If something's important to you and people love you and they want to see you, they will follow those rules. I don't think it's a horrible thing. Also, giving people options. So wearing your shoes in my house is not an option unless you have that booty on, because unless you have the shoe cover on, because then I'm not having to clean up the floor after you. It's too much. If every single time someone came over and wore their shoes in the house, I had to go around and clean it, that would be very overwhelming for me. We all have our things. That's my thing. My kids, I know people are like, grow your immune system, but the things that we step on outside, urine, chemicals, feces, just so many things. You don't want that in your house. And I actually had an entire gathering in my house with like 30 people, my whole family, and there were shoes everywhere. Like everyone took off their shoes, and just 2 people, 3 people maybe wore the blue covers. So anyway, my kids have that habit. They know to take off their shoes. They know to take off their clothes and put it in the hamper. They know if they spill something, they need to clean it. They know to clean up their plate. They know to like put their things away. So sometimes I have to remind them of, if they're playing with crayons, and I have to tell them, okay, if you want to keep that drawing, take it to your room. Mila has like a drawer of drawings. Or if you don't, then go ahead and toss it and then put the crayons away. All right, since this video is going long, this is gonna be the last one. I'm sorry. If you like videos like this, I'll keep doing them, but I don't want them to go too long. So if you have kids, you know that artwork is never ending, school papers, all of that. And the kids are so proud of them, and then they'll come home and it's like scribbles. And I want them to feel like they did great. So to them, I'm like, you are a little Picasso. You did amazing. But I cannot keep every single thing that comes in the house. So I'm very honest with my kids, and I allow them to pick what goes into the arts binder. So I have a binder. It's got a bunch of sleeves, and they're able to keep whatever fits in here. We still have lots of room. But this is probably from when my daughter was in preschool, like when she was learning how to circle things. So these are things that she's proud of. So yeah, and then my son's stuff is in there. So once this binder is filled, they're gonna have to go ahead and pick some things to declutter. Like this is the type of stuff that kids come home with, scribbles. But anyway, so this is how I keep things minimal with artwork. They're able to put whatever they want into this binder. When it fills up, they're gonna have to go ahead and declutter and look back at some scribbles and say, okay, I can let that go. But I don't keep, I've seen people who have like a bin for each kid. I think that's great too. I like to have just one. I don't wanna store 3 bins. I'm just being honest, I don't want to. And if my kids turn 18 and I handed them a huge bin of just artwork and scribbles, I don't think they're gonna really appreciate it. I'm being honest. I don't think I would have cared if my mom handed me that. But you know what I would have cared that my mom handed me? One of these journals from my childhood of things that she felt about me or memories that we shared. This to me matters. The little artwork, I don't know any 50-year-old who's walking around like proud of the artwork. I'm just saying, I don't know, don't get, maybe there are people who are, but I just think that there's so much more to life than physical things. So I give everything a physical space. If I let my kids keep every single thing they ever liked, this house would be a junkyard. So I have to, as the mom, give clear physical space for certain things, physical limitations, and I have to set rules, I have to set boundaries, and I love my kids so much. Me not letting them keep everything that they see is not me loving them any less. But I've been doing this so long, and it was never a shock to them. This is just how I've raised them. I was lucky enough to get into minimalism when my daughter was really little. My son was just born, before Legend was born. This is the norm for them. So to them, they're not missing anything. There's no void. This is just how we live our lives. And that's the beauty of it, right? We all get to choose the life that we want to live. And I think it keeps our house from feeling overwhelming. Does our house get messy? Yes, because we live here. I'm here all day. The kids are here. And we eat 3 meals a day here. We do laundry here. It's gonna get messy. It's not supposed to be clean all the time. Yes, we put our best foot forward and we show our house clean on videos. That's what everyone does, right? You show your best because typically you'll clean up before you show anyone anything. But these spaces are lived in. But there's a difference between a lived in space that's a little messy versus a house that's so overwhelming that you can't even thrive in it. And I speak a lot about moms and wives because that's all I can speak for, because that's what I am. I can't speak for the husbands. I do have a great husband, and we do have things in place where we keep the other from feeling super, super overwhelmed. But I would say I am in control of the house. My husband handles things that I couldn't even wrap my head around trying to handle. He has a different load than me. I am responsible for the house. I am responsible for the peace. I am responsible for keeping things flowing. I am the manager of this house. I handle all the kids' things. I handle the academics. He's a very present husband. But if he had to work and then handle everything that I'm also handling and handle the kids' academics, and it's too much. So we have clear roles in our house. And I just think that everyone could benefit from having healthy habits, having routines, setting a standard for your kids, and you're setting them up for their future. And I think it's so important. Anyway, if you like this type of video, let me know in the comments, because there are so many little things that we do that are so normal to us that I don't think they're worth sharing. And then I'll share little tiny nuggets of things that I do, and then I have people saying like, share more. So yeah, if you like something like that, it would be really encouraging for you to let me know. If you don't, it's okay. We can share our normal like minimalism conversations, but I just thought that this was a good like part 2. But I hope you all have a great day. Bye.